everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're going to wait a few minutes just to let people continue to trickle in here. We've got a huge crowd showing up today, but excited for all y'all who were punctual. So just really quick before we kick things off, let's go ahead and throw in the chat, like, where are you from and what's your familiarity with Gravity Sketch? From 1 being like, what's Gravity Sketch, to 5 all the way to like, I use VR like 4 hours a week, right? And you use it all the time, right? So would love to see some of that pop into the chat. Nice. I'm totally a 2. I'm a newbie to Gravity Sketch, so just be honest with myself here. Sophia over here is like a 10, so that's always.
Oh yeah, I'm like 10 hours per day.
I know, exactly.
Don't do it.
So for those of y'all still hopping in, we're just waiting for a few other people to join, making sure everyone has some time. But if you want to throw in the chat where you're from and you're familiar with Gravity Sketch on a scale of 1 to 5, that would be really cool.
Hi, Danielle.
Nice. And people, a 1. Nice. Yep, I'm right there with you, Randy. I'm just learning. I can say in about 2 months at Gravity Sketch, though, I'm feeling a little bit better. So nice. Quite a few 2s. Love to see some newbies in here. That's awesome. 1.5 in training. Yep, I feel that as well, Mark. Like very.
Oh yeah, we have a professor here. Hi.
Yeah, totally a 1. Nice. I love it. We've got a lot of newbies to Gravity Sketch in here. That's really cool to see. Y'all are in for a treat. Like, I kid you not, Žofia is like a 10 on the scale of 1 to 5. And it's going to be really cool. So nice.
Hi, Pat. Hello to India.
Nice. Got some people coming in. All right. And it looks like we're getting a pretty good amount of people in here. I'm sure some more people will continue to trickle in as we go, but just to keep things moving and value everyone's time who is here already, we'll go ahead and get things started. So real quick, my name is Tyler Crumpler, and I'm on the marketing team here at Gravity Sketch. So I'm going to be your moderator today. I'm not really here who y'all are here to see. We all know everyone's here to see Žofia and hear her great insights. But, a few housekeeping items really quick before we get started. 1, we are recording this webinar, and so we will send this recording out after the fact. That way, for people who weren't able to attend, they can go back and review this, or you can share this with your colleagues or anybody else that you may want to, share this content with. We're more than happy to do that. The other thing would just be, we want this to be very collaborative. And so as you can see, Žofia and I have kind of already kicked this off with engaging you all and, making jokes. So, if you have any questions, we're going to absolutely have some time bottled off at the end for you all to ask questions. But, start throwing them into the chat. Like, Žofia's actually put together some really cool things in our Collab room feature that she's going to show you guys that, she went above and beyond and did that, very automotive focus. And so, if you have any questions, or if you have any questions about the things she's saying when we're kind of going through these interview questions, go ahead and throw them in there and we'll do our best to address them while we're in flow. And then finally, if you're having any technical difficulties, feel free to shoot me a message. I will engage with you. I will do my best to help while the presentation's in flow, and we'll kind of work that out. So from there, I'm going to kick things over to Žofia to give us a quick intro of her background and all of those good things. We'll go from there. Welcome, Žofia, and welcome everybody.
Hi, Taylor. Thank you for having me. Hi, all. So hello, everybody. I'm Žofia. I'm from Slovakia, based in Bratislava, in the capital. And I've been using Gravity Sketch from 2017. And firstly, I started to use it as a PhD student when I was doing my transportation degree in Bratislava, Transportation Design Studio. And since then, I also started to teach it to all of my bachelor and master students. So this is how I started. I started as an assistant at Academy of Fine Arts and Design in Bratislava in 2017. And then I'm also working as a consultant, as a car consultant for Gravity Sketch. I would say it's almost like a year and a half now. And I'm lucky to work with all of these great European OEMs. And I'm happy to consult them, teach them all Gravity Sketch tools, tips, and tricks. And also I'm happy to influence their workflows and help to unlock them the possibilities how to get the data outside of Gravity Sketch and push them through the pipeline. And one thing I want to say, if you stick till the end of this webinar, we will be offering some super cool gifts, which Taylor will share at the very end. So
I love the cliffhanger. And guys, this is a really good gift. It's not something we usually offer. And around that, Zofia, it's super interesting. We don't really talk about like your role in terms of design consultants a lot externally, but this is a very unique role that we have here in Gravity Sketch. Like, people like Sofia who are in this role are people who are in industry, right? Like Sofia's been doing this in terms of car design for a long time before this, right? And now she is actually a Gravity Sketch employee who is going out and helping a lot of these auto companies to realize the value of Gravity Sketch, to move their design process into 3D, which is kind of how we get to, the title of this, going from 2D to 3D design communication, right? Like, so it's very hand in hand. So it's a very cool position. It's very unique to Gravity Sketch. And honestly, like, these design consultants have such a good industry understanding and Gravity Sketch understanding that, quite frankly, no one else has out there. So it's a really cool perspective because, Zofia, in many ways, a lot of these major brands that you're working with, you're almost an extension of their team, right? Like, you're kind of like a hybrid Gravity Sketch and team employee. And so I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's like you almost see to the kitchen of the brands and you see how they cook all of the pipeline and how the work flows and how everybody collaborate and works. And then you are able to understand, empathize with them, and maybe like help them or advise them to do things more efficiently, smoother, and quicker.
Like I said, let's go ahead and hop in now. And, everyone feel free to ask questions as they come up. But, one of the things that I'd love to hear a little bit about is, you're working with a lot of the major brands in Europe in the automotive side. And I'm just kind of curious, like, out of the brands you're working at, where are they kind of at in their 3D design journey? What are you seeing? Are a lot of them still working in 2D? Are they just getting started in 3D? Is it kind of commonplace? What are you seeing there?
So what I would say, like, the traditional workflow was really split into two directions. So let's say it was like designers, they were like the brains, the creative gods who always like delivered beautiful sketches and 2D interpretations of their ideas. But like, and then they gave these cool 2D images, Photoshop renderings to the modelers or clay modelers to create a 3D representation of their ideas. But now what we see is like with Gravity Sketch, you can like grab your idea directly from your head and almost like immediately put it to the 3D space. So you kind of skip, because it's like from your 3D idea, you go directly to 3D. So you skip the 2D element of it. I mean, you can still like ideate on paper and then bring it to Gravity Sketch, but like it's kind of like really smooth because you don't need to struggle, let's say, with perspective, because you are directly in 3D and it's very gestural and very emotional based. So it's almost the same feeling, like you are on a paper, you have a blank paper and pencil and you just sketch. So in VR, in Gravity Sketch, the paper, the canvas is a 3D canvas. So you can directly create from your imagination. So, and now we see that also in Blender in many different workflows. So what I see like in my students, in my student class, like 20-year-old, they just go directly Blender, Gravity Sketch. Some of them use Maya. So they are able to construct the idea in 3D form. So that's like the shift we see.
Yeah, well, there's a couple things that I think you touched on there that are really interesting and that I hear a lot. And one of those is a lot of times people are asking us how we're different from Blender or Rhino or other technologies, right? And it's really more so that we are both part of the process, right? It's not really like you're competing for each other's time. And the other thing you mentioned was, really like I hear customers all the time talking about how Gravity Sketch helps them preserve their design integrity, because instead of having to go from 3D up here in their head to 2D on paper and then try and get someone like a modeler to go into 3D, sometimes the ideas get disconstrained there, and this makes it a lot more simple for them. Is that similar to what you hear in a lot of those conversations?
Yeah, what we hear a lot is like the communication friction. So when you have a beautiful like candy cotton Photoshop, but like all of the corners are a bit tweaked, like we all know, like the wheels can be bigger, like you tweak the perspective. And then when the modeler is getting the sketched idea on the real package, like there is a lot of like friction and miscommunication. So if you like can directly sketch on the package, or at least like very simple simplified package, at least you are sure that all the corners and what you see, it's what you will get in 3D or very close to it, because like VR is still not a real reality, but it's very very close. And also what we eliminate, I think, is the collaborative aspect, because like people compare us to Blender. So why we are not Blender? Because Blender is modeling software, but Gravity Sketch, like the our bread and butter is that we are collaboration and communication platform for designer. So it's like the creative hub, creative canvas, where can the designer meet modeler or the engineer or the design manager, and they can ideate, talk, communicate, and iterate together.
Yeah, and I love where you're going with that. And I think, what you've prepared here a little bit later is like the perfect representation of that collaboration. But Callum is actually setting us up perfectly right here with his question, which, based off some of the emoji reactions, he's asking do you think that 3D sketching essentially will eliminate the need for clay modelers? So I'm going to kind of take that question and tee it up to make it a little bit broader, and we can touch on that. But have you seen Gravity Sketch, 3D sketching, collaboration really change the way that a lot of these automotive companies that you're working with on a daily basis are working with others, i.e. modelers, factories, their design managers, other designers on their team? And I guess, what have you seen within how this is changing it? And do you think this eliminates the need for that? Very controversial question, I have to imagine.
Oh, yeah, so. I know. I don't think Gravity Sketch is like replacement for the clay, but it almost like helps like the designer role and the modeler or clay modeler to like kind of melt and blend together a little bit better, so there is less problems and less communication, misunderstanding. In a way, what we see is like designers like to have really expressive sketches, and clay modelers, they love Gravity Sketch because it's still they use their hands, so it's almost like gestural modeling, or you don't see the sleek, but like you have the controls and you have the invisible sleek where you can control the surfaces. And for the CAD modelers, I wouldn't say we are necessarily replacing alias A-class surface modelers or like engineers or CATIA and CAD data, but it's also like it is a platform for them to review and evaluate the 3D data, CATIA, ISEM, alias, engineering, chassis, whatever you think about, and annotate, collaborate, and iterate together. So it's like you go to VR because you can evaluate it in one-to-one scale. So you almost have the feeling you are in the clay modeling hall and you are looking at the proportion and you are judging the reflection, surfacing, and everything. So yeah, I would say like clay modelers, I think they will still have job. CAD modelers, they will still continue to have their job, but we are more like kind of a add-on, like, or communication hub for them. Yeah.
A way that we're enhancing the process in a little bit of ways. And so I think that's really cool. And I mean, I think that's a great segue, honestly. I know you've put together some really cool stuff in in our Screen Collab product. And so maybe this is a good time for us to jump in and show what some of this collaboration and showcasing can really look like. If you want to take over the screen share, and everybody feel free to ask questions. Like, this is really cool. Sophia was walking it through me today, and it wowed me. So hopefully it instills some really cool questions and conversations with you all. So
cool. Can you see the screen?
Yep, we're good to go.
Okay, great. So I think still there is maybe some mystery about like Gravity Sketch 3 products. So I'm sure you know about Landing Pad. So Landing Pad is the cloud, or it's like a Google Drive. It's like a drive for all of the data, sketches, collab rooms. So now I'm in the Gravity Sketch organization. I see all of the folders and structure. And you also see collab rooms. So I just want to distinguish two things. So we have solo rooms. Solo room, when you are sketching there, nobody can enter the room. It's just the file where you create the stuff, and people cannot see it unless you send it to them. But then we have also collab room or collaboration room, where you can invite up to 10 people, and then they can work with you in a real time. So now we can see in the Gravity Sketch organization all of the collab rooms we have. And now if I want to enter it, I have 3 options. So I double click, it needs to be Collab, double click, and then you will get this question, how do you want to open it? And we want to open it as a screen collaboration app. So you can also open it in untethered standalone headset, which is not connected to your PC, or a headset which is connected to your PC. So now we will open it as a screen app. So I already opened it because it's quite heavy. And
the
now
cool
you
thing
are...
about this, just to throw that out there, Zofia, is this eliminates the need for you to collaborate with people who have VR headsets, right? If they don't have a VR headset, you can still collaborate with them on these types of things because they can do it on their...
Yeah, because like what we see is like a lot of managers, they're too busy. They don't like headsets, let's say. Yeah, some people like feel dizzy in headsets. Not everybody can have headsets. So this is like a presentation space. So the screen collab, it's not creative space. It's not like the space where you can like pull and stretch subdi and create sketches, but it's a software which helps you to present your ideas and also review and annotate. So, and it's very easy to navigate. If you're familiar with Blender or with any kind of 3D software, you just use the middle button for scrolling, the left for rotating, and the right for panning around. And what is really cool, this screen app also serves as a kind of 3D PowerPoint, I would say. So where you can set the viewpoints here, and you can like lock your beautiful frames, and you can navigate people through your slides. So first, I would like to also say, now we have the layers here, and this is a huge help because you can export from here. So it was kind of a problem for me when I tried to export everything from the VR because it was like heavy and you make mistake and you need to re-export. But now with these tools, like you can, let's say, locate what you want to export. So I have this environment layer, I click on it, then I have this like magnifying glass, I click on it, and now I only see the local view. I only see what's in the layer. And then I can click here, you will see the dimension, and then you can export it. Yeah, actually, I recommend try GLB if you are a newbie. GLB doesn't have any kind of like preferences. It's very easy. You just type it here, and then you queue export.
Yeah,
So,
and one thing I want to add to this too, Zofia, is we have a bunch of newbies on the line, right? And so you guys are all probably like, "Wow, this looks," because Zofia has probably put together one of the most amazing collab rooms I've ever seen here, right? But to give this for reference, I've been at Gravity Sketch for 2 months. I'm a marketer. I don't have a design background, right? But part of my onboarding process is actually having to create a motorcycle, go through a full design process, getting a design brief, and then I actually have to share it tomorrow to the entire company, right? After 2 months of working on this thing. I'm doing that using this feature, right? And I've put together a room just like, obviously not nearly as cool as this, but very, still very cool. It shows all the design process, all of those things that we're working on. And so, for all you newbies, don't let this like scare you. Like this is really something that you can do. Like, and I'm speaking as a non-designer, so.
Yeah, it is beautiful things about Gravity Sketch. Like it's very intuitive. You will get there. You will get there because it's gestural and it's like phygital. So it makes the real reality. You are familiar. So you just grab the glass, and in Gravity Sketch you just grab the object and you move it. So it gets like very intuitive and very easy. Like really spend like 7 hours in Gravity Sketch and you will feel much like confident and better exploring it on your own. Yeah. So all of this, what you see been creating, it was created in Gravity Sketch. So let me walk through like my 2 favorite projects. So if you are in the presentation mode and you want to really make it seamless and beautiful, then just press tabulator and you will hide all of the interface. And then you will just use keyboard arrows on your keyboard to navigate from the slide to slide. So let me start here about the first project. So this was more like traditional approach to the project. I started also with 2D Photoshop and hand sketches. And then I moved to like really rough wireframe sketch. So I'm sure you discovered also the ink and stroke tool in Gravity Sketch. They are the easiest and the most intuitive tools. And when you control the lines, you can easily create these wireframes, which are really, really helpful for later in the process when you start modeling. And I want to say, like, the best part of this project was that it was very collaborative. It was not just me who was working on this project. It was my colleague Ed, who is here. He's in UK, and also my colleague Eric was working together with us. He's based in the US. So it was very like vivid and fluid collaboration, I would say. Like, we never had to go to the meets or Skype calls. Like, we directly met inside Gravity Sketch, and we were annotating and working together.
And so I want to touch on that a little bit, Zofia, because like you just mentioned all of y'all being in different time zones all across the world, collaborating on building this car out here, right? So talking about how this changes the way that you can really collaborate on your sketching and designs, like, you know, you're in Slovakia, someone else is in the UK, someone else is in the US, and you are all making a car together and iterating and designing on that. And so you can even think about, you know, all the implications of this, of, you know, if you're designing a product and you're in the US and your factory is somewhere else in the world, you can bring those people in here and have those discussions in real time, leave each other notes and collaborate before you even get to that, like, let's create a model stage, right? I think that really changes the game. So
yeah, and like how to collaborate and annotate, like, you don't necessarily need to make it in real time. It's great, I love it, it's a lot of fun, but you can make it asynchronously, you can make it offline. So let's say I want to add my colleague here and like to look at it and change something. So I'm just texting him, please look at the shot lines, and I just press enter. And since he is in the same organization, he will get this message on his email. So it's a really like seamless way how to collaborate and iterate together.
so cool. So we're getting a ton of questions about the rendering quality in here and how you were able to make it look so realistic at the quality level. I don't know if you want to touch on that a little bit.
Oh yeah. So the first thing you want to do is just to bring your HDR. So let me hide this. So as you can see here, I put the HDR, and I really like this one. It's from Polyhaven. If you don't know Polyhaven, it's a great source for assets, textures, and HDR mapping. So go there, and this one is like pink sunset or something. It's beautiful. It has like this pinkish reddish sunset quality. So all the renderings looks much better with this. And of course, I put the glossy or reflective material in Gravity Sketch. And the one extra tip for the presentation is like, make sure there is something underneath. So this is I created in Blender, this procedural material. So it's just like infinite road. But also what really helps, you see I have shadows here, and we don't really have shadows in like cast shadows in Screen Apps. So what I recommend, you create a special layer, and you just put the JPEG images, and you just, it's in our library actually. So you just go there, airbrush textures, just put it there, drop it there, and play it with the opacity. So these are all JPEGs here placed under the cars, and it really helps because it looks more realistic. So
And so this gets back into like, you know, we're a sketching collaboration room and area, right? Less so that like you don't have to do it all here. You can take things out, bring them back in, and collaborate more and more, right? Like it's really just a place to collaborate with your colleagues and with your peers on your work. So as well as a creation room. So
and also like for the quality of the renderings, what I can say what really helps, let's go to interior. So there is one quite like hidden workflow. So what you can do, this was like Diego, thank you very much if you're joining, like he helped with this. You go to Blender, you take your sub D or FBX, and you texture it in Blender with the procedure or image textures, and then you bake the rendering, you bake the lighting, and you bake the textures, and then you bring it back to Gravity Sketch. So some of these, like these logos, they're just PNGs, and they're like really floating close to the surface. So they're not the real textures. This is just how I like mimic stickers. But like some of these, like these maps or like this wood here, or also like the flower here, You see, it's like it has a texture on it, so you can bring it back from Blender. And like the lighting, you see, it's not reactive to the environment. This is like lighting baked from Blender. So it's quite advanced. If you're good in Blender, you might get it. Like we have a video about it, just Google it in YouTube. But yeah, this is how you can improve the visualization quality, which I think is quite important for the presentation. Yeah. Yep. And yeah, let me like progress through this. So yeah, about the process. So this is really cool. We also milled the car. So we decided to do the quarter scale. So as you can see, it was very like the whole design process was done here. We also 3D printed the parts from the car. And yeah, we also covered it in Dynoc. This is a part, like this was a great part of the collaboration. You've seen Ed and Eric. And what was great, you can you can work from your office, you can work from your home office. Yeah, you can work from US, Slovakia, UK, and work together. So yeah, I really enjoyed the process. It almost feels like digital or phygital clay modeling, I would say.
It is so cool. And
yeah,
so
it was fun.
curious, like especially in industry, you know, like I'm very curious talking about the clay modeling piece because it's come up a lot. Like, and right here we're even being asked, like, you know, can you 3D print mill from Gravity Sketch data? Like, how have you seen how this process in terms of using Gravity Sketch as a collaboration tool, a 3D sketching tool, has kind of changed that process? And how are, you know, designers working with clay modelers and, you know, people of that nature in terms of the work process? Like, what are you really seeing there?
So it's like it can be multiple way. Designer can only sketch the wireframe, and the modeler can provide the sub-D, like phygital clay or like sub-D surfaces. It can also be that the modelers can mill the data, and I think like the milling it's much easier, like to mill the data from Gravity Sketch because it doesn't need to be watertight. It can still be like open, like this car. You see, like the greenhouse was separated from the car body, and yeah, just make sure like this intersection were done then in Blender. But you don't need to have a perfect data for clay milling, so that's quite easy. But then if you want to do really like watertight detail and graphics and wheels, then yeah, you need to like spend some time in Blender or I don't know, Maya alias Sub-D to close all of the holes and make sure everything is watertight. But like for milling, it's just like just take the data, yeah, it's like scale it to whatever you want and you can mill that. Pretty easy. Yeah, some renderings. Yeah, and here is animation from Blender. So you see it's like these shot lines, these are stroke. So it's not the actual shot line, it's just the stroke very close to this surface. Again, this is textured. So when people say like Gravity Sketch is unprecise, I mean, yeah, it's not A-class, but you can get a great results like if you really take care of the topology and build the surfaces with some strategy. And yeah,
I don't know. This looks pretty precise to me. Just throwing that out there as a designer, like, I mean, yeah, it's pretty wild. So, and it seems like a lot of people, you know, from the comments here are agreeing with you. It's some really cool stuff that you've put together here for us. And so, yeah.
So it was also,
Love this.
yeah.
You know, I'm kind of curious too, just like as we're talking about this and you're talking about all these workflows, you know, and maybe just kind of like a final thought before we wrap up with some questions and that special offering that we have for everybody here. Like,
Mhm.
you know, in terms of like, you know, what you're seeing, you are very much, you know, clearly pushing the bounds of what Gravity Sketch, 3D modeling, collaboration can do, right? Like, what are some of the future trends that maybe you envision coming out of this process as, you know, 3D becomes more adopted as a sketching and collaboration tool, as well as, you know, it becomes more, you know, adopted out wider and wider by more in the automotive industry and other industries to do things like this. So
Yes, I think it will be a little bit more liberal in terms of like what sketch. We should redefine what sketch means because in traditional like vocabulary, it's like sketch is a 2D representation of your idea. But like the sketch, what we see now, it can be a 3D sketch. I still consider this a sketch. I mean, it's still a rough representation, and it was made really quickly. So yeah, so I think we need to like set them, like shift the mindset a bit and like be like, yeah, so you can have multiple iterations, like how the similar way how you sketch. Like here I've just created 3 wheels, you just duplicate it, just like making another sketch, you just duplicate the 3D objects and then you iterate on it, and you're trying also
That's a good one.
materials and stuff. So, and you can always like get to the level of flow in Gravity Sketch. I love that. It's like you really feel like a next idea pop in your head, and at the same time you can execute it, because you don't need to like think about it. Like you want to sketch a, I don't know, blender, car, and you need so many views on your paper or in your Photoshop. 3/4, side, front, rear. And here you just like execute it as a one huge shape, very like dramatical, expressive kind of creating things, and then you can judge it from multiple perspectives. Yeah. So this is,
I love that. I think yeah, and I mean, I think that's something we talk about a lot internally, right? Is the idea of like what is a sketch? Because like you said, traditionally it is 2D, and this is, I mean, this is still a sketch, and it at the end
it's
of the
still
day, and
sketch.
so I love it. Yeah. So awesome. This was really awesome, Zofia. Thank you so much for putting this together, taking the time. So before I open this up, y'all have already asked a ton of questions. I want to share a little bit about this special gift here that we are going to be rolling out. And so Zofia has graciously decided to offer up her time. And so in our follow-up email where we're sharing the recording with you all, we're actually going to offer 8 sessions where Zofia will consult with you in VR over the next 8 Mondays. We'll send out a Calendly link. Those are going to be first come, first serve for people to get. The catch here maybe for some of you would be you need to be a business, have a business email, a business use case for that. But we are going to be offering those out, and we're going to have 8 of them, which is an hour with Zofia in VR. Just so you all know, this is normally a paid service. This is something that we typically, charge for given her level of ability. And so a really rare opportunity to get in with a pro like Zofia in Gravity Sketch and get some really cool hands-on opportunities. So we'll be sending out that recording in the next 48 hours. So be on the lookout. We'll have a link to book time directly on Zofia's calendar and Calendly, and y'all be able to do that. So thank you so much, Zofia, for offering that and taking the time to share this with us today. Yeah.
Cool.
So with that, does anybody have any other questions that they want to offer? If not, we can wrap it up. And, Zofia, you're getting tons of shout out in here, which is really awesome to see. So it is truly amazing. I don't think I've ever seen a collab room this cool. So, appreciate you putting it together.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. And yeah.
So I see no more questions. If y'all have any other questions or anything that you want to pass on, feel free to email us at hello@gravitysketch.com. That's our main email distro. You can send anything like that out to us, and we appreciate your time. Zofia, thank you so much for your time, and can't wait to see people start coming in to book those sessions.
Cool.
Hi, everybody.
Ta-da!